Welcome to the Flymen Fishing Show, where we talk fly fishing, fly tying, and everything in between. I'm your host, Scotty Davis. Well, cool. We'll just jump into it for those who don't know you. This is Mike Schultz from Schultz Outfitters. You're a Michigan native? You're from that area, right?
Yeah, I lived in the same watershed my whole life. Might sound a little lame, but for those of you guys that have come here and fished with us, it's a pretty cool place if you dig smallmouth bass.
Yeah, you never leave fish to find fish. Cold beer.
Yeah, it took us about 15 minutes to figure this all out. We had to put our studio together. It hasn't been used in a while, but we're up and running. All good.
I like the wood.
Yeah, right. we have your setup in the fly tying room, and then we got we went with the gray for the to match the green back here. So that was another COVID project.
Did you use pallet wood?
Yeah, I mean, I think it just was like, your local hardware store or Home Depot or whatever, just in a box, and we did it the same way. But like I said, we did it when we were shut down, so there wasn't many options.
Nice, looks good.
Yeah.
So it's back to you. Did you were guiding before you started the shop, right?
Correct. Yeah. So I right out of college, well, at the tail end of my college years, I got a full-time gig. So I think my senior year of college, I was playing hockey, I was managing a fly shop, and I was taking the bare minimum credits kind of just to coast out the last semester there. Graduated in January, and then right into full-time, working in the industry. And I worked at several shops in this area for a number of years, and then eventually kind of got in a situation where, it wasn't the best situation work-wise for me, and I ended up saying, screw it, I'm just going to go straight into full-time guiding, and did that for a couple of years. And then it's like, dude, it's time.
Yeah.
Time to do it better than what's been done around here for the last 20 years. So here we are 10 years later.
What did you start guiding for? Was it smallmouth?
Yeah. So our program, or our, the rules in Michigan, I guess when I first started guiding, smallmouth was my main thing. That's what I was really interested in, and that was what was available around here. But the fishing game, the Department of Natural Resources had set restrictions. So you couldn't legally fish for bass in Michigan from January 1st until the last Saturday in May. And for those of you guys that are familiar with the Midwest, the upper Midwest, middle of March through, let's say on a good year, middle of May would be your like banger 8 weeks of fishing, right? That is the best fishing of the year for, most people. So that was off limits, right? So that was kind of like a pre-spawn, a spawn, and then a post-spawn. So you lost all that, and it kind of stunk.
What did they do it to protect the spawn?
Yeah, that's what they would say. Yeah, it was to protect the fish. So during the time before I could legally fish for smallmouth, I would guide steelhead. And then in the fall, when you're first starting out, you do whatever you can to get it rolling. So I'd guide salmon fishing in the fall for 5-6 weeks, and then I'd roll into a steelhead program, and then pretty much take the winter off. But then when it opened up, kind of eased in, right? It was like, all right, we're going to open it up a month earlier. So the last Saturday in April was when it opened up for catch and release for a month. So they did that for about 3 or 4, maybe 5 years. I can't remember. And then one day out of the blue, got a call. I was actually out at the Feast of the East Muskie tournament, and got a call from one of my buddies like, hey man, the DNR just announced that we're year round, and it was like, oh. So we packed up all our stuff, got the heck out of Pennsylvania because the river was in really bad shape, drove back and started guiding, I think 2 days later. Quickly found, we already knew that fishing was great. I mean, when you're a kid, you go out and you're a teenager, 10 years old, you're fishing, you're catching bass in the spring. But obviously if you're in the industry, it's kind of hard to explain, throwing a 6-7 inch streamer. Hey, I'm carp fishing.
Yeah. I didn't know better.
Yeah, I didn't know better. Right. So yeah, once you got rolling, you kind of had to pay attention and play by the rules. But we knew it would be great fishing, so we were able to explore that and get that rolling. And then just recently, this past year, so they opened it up, but then they kept several really good streams closed for walleye fishing. So you wouldn't fish for walleye when there's a spawn. And then just this year, we heard rumors like maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks before the date that they actually changed it. My buddy Carson, who I buy all my trucks from and whatnot for the family, he hit me up with a text like, "Hey man, one of my customers just told me that Schultzy's really gonna like the new rules." And I'm like, "Well, what the heck are the new rules?" And with a little bit of prying, we figured out that every river in Michigan is now open year round for bass. There's a little bit of tackle restriction when it comes to like lead on the hook and whatnot. They're trying to eliminate people fishing jigs. But pretty much now it's free reign, man. If you get creative, figure out how to rig and change your rigs up for that early season fishing, which, as you can imagine, early season in Michigan, you're going to want to get the flies down. So if you can't have lead on the hook, you got to get creative and figure out new rigs and stuff. So we're pretty good at doing stuff like that. So we quickly adapted, and we had some great fish in early season this year.
You can just peg the weight farther away from the hook, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it can't be on the hook, right? So you articulated flies, you can rig them up where they're on shanks. You can rig up with different types of the stuff that we have on the conventional side with like little tungsten spikes, like little weights, jam into the fly and do different things with. So yeah, man, it's just or you sink tip lines, which we normally don't do a lot of, but when you're forced to do it, you're forced to adapt and figure out different ways to do it, and here we are.
Yeah, shit, or get off the pot.
Right, exactly.
Are y'all still doing that routine? You still do some steelhead guiding, or you predominantly stick to the smallmouth yourself?
Yeah, me personally, I'm year-round smallmouth. So I mean, have I guided in January? Have I guided in February? Yes. Am I jumping up and down saying, "Come fish with me" that time of year? No. But pretty much we have 6 rivers to choose from. So each one of them is very unique. And not only is the river unique, but the sections of those rivers are unique. You have a lot of dams. Some sections of river we fish are below the lowest dam, which those fish could, not so much the smallmouth, but the bait. You get bait from the Great Lakes, right? So like a river like that is going to be a little bit better in the fall or in the winter than a river that's landlocked, where those fish kind of eat the young fish, throughout the year, and then eventually just kind of eat their way to different food sources. You have other rivers where you get influxes of bait, and it's like, whoo, that's a place you want to be in the fall and the winter, right? So, having said that, smallmouth is our main focus, but we do have great steelhead runs, and that's pretty much the only other fish that we fish for, I would say, outside of the immediate range of those 6 rivers would be to go over to the west side. I don't do it personally anymore, but our head guide here, James Hughes, who's just an animal, he puts in a couple hundred days a year guiding for us. And he goes over and guides steelhead for about 6 weeks to 8 weeks during the peak of the fall.
You do any muskie guiding or?
No, not really. We have, when it comes to river fishing, no. But if someone called and said, hey, they wanted to go muskie fishing, we would steer them towards our buddy Eric Grieski. He lives maybe 40 minutes from the shop here, and then he guides on Lake St. Clair primarily. And then Colton Decker, who guides for us, this is his 3rd or 4th year. I think it's third year guiding for us. He guided for a few years up in Alaska. But kind of our plan with him was to, get him dialed in on the river game. And then year 3, he buys a big lake boat and starts toying around out on Lake St. Clair, Lower Detroit River, Lake Erie. So he's a lot further along than I thought he would be. So he's actually out right now guiding smallmouth on Lake St. Clair. He's sending me pictures of big fish. So
nice.
Any days he gets off the river or off guiding, he's in the big boat running out to Clair or Detroit River or Lake Erie to learn it. Can't get it handed to you. You got to earn it.
Oh yeah, dude, that's awesome. How many guides do you have at the shop?
So there are myself plus 3 full-timers. So I got James Hughes, I got Colton Decker, I got Dan Bennett, and then a part-timer who's my lead instructor, Jay Wisnowski, he's probably got 3 or 4 years on me, but he's pretty well traveled. He guided over on the Delaware and the Lehigh back in the day, and then he moved to Chicago, and he was the head instructor at Orvis Chicago. And I think both him and Hughes fell in my lap. Like literally the shop opened 10 years ago in March, this coming March. And I think on the third day, the shop opening, my head guy, James Hughes, comes wandering in. He's the captain of the cross country team at the local college at the time. And he's like, dude, I've been fly fishing my whole life. I've never seen a shop like this. I can't believe it. If you ever need anybody, let me know. You know, and as getting to know him for 2 or 3 months, I was like, dude, you want to come fishing on one of my days off? And I'm like, dude, this guy's got it. You know, he's an athlete. He's a team player. So scooped him up. He's been with me since pretty much 3 months into the shop's history. And then Jay was kind of the same deal. He came in maybe a month after we opened and was like, hey, I just moved here for a job from Chicago. I guided over on the Delaware. I've lived in Chicago as an instructor. I want to stay in the industry, but I clearly can't stay in the industry by working in Chicago, living in Detroit. So
right.
I'm like, what are you doing Monday? He's like, nothing. I'm like, well, let's go fishing. And we've become really good buddies. Our wives have become really good friends. And I was just dropping both my kids off this morning at school, and Jay was dropping his oldest son off, who's got the teacher, the room right next door to Tanner. So
nice. Are they about the same age?
Same age. Yeah.
That's so perfect.
Both in young fives, and they're battling that out on the T-ball field, you know. So it's cool.
He's playing T-ball.
Yeah, the little guy. He just turned. Like I said, he's actually his birthday party was Saturday, but he hasn't turned 5 till the end of the month. So Dylan is his name, and he is a hockey player and a baseball player. But if you ask him what he wants to be, he says a bull rider. But he definitely likes baseball more. And we had to get an exemption for him this year to be a 4-year-old playing in the T-ball league. And I had more than one parent come up to me and said, man, that's the best 4-year-old T-ball player I've ever seen in my life. So,
yeah. I love it. My kids play, my son plays baseball too. And I could watch a baseball game, him play anyway, for hours, but put him on a soccer field. I'm like, I can't watch this shit. It's like just this mob of kids going around, but watching kids play baseball is a blast, man.
No doubt. It has been fun because for like tonight, as soon as I get done with this, I'm racing over to the rink. So I coach Tanner's hockey team, and I help Dylan's team out whenever I can. But so I'm never in the stands, right, for hockey. I'm on the bench. I'm in the trenches with the boys. Whereas baseball, it's like Yeti chair, cooler in, you know, pop a few cold ones and kick back and relax.
Yeah, then you get all that downtime when your kid's not hitting. You know, you talk to other players, and you go, hang on, got to be a dad for a minute, watch the kid. You know, it's great. That's awesome. So you say you played hockey growing up. You played in college too?
Yeah, I just played all the way up, man. I played until I was 20. I think I was a 22-year-old senior, maybe 23. I don't know. But yeah, I played growing up. You know, I was fortunate to play with on some really good teams. Being in Detroit area, it's a hockey hotbed, and just you know, I was fortunate. You know, my parents pushed me to do it when I was a kid. Not pushed me, but you know, introduced me to it, I should say. And you know, got hooked up with a bunch of good kids, good families, and I don't think my parents ever intended for me to play up age group for as long as I did, but we kind of caught on with a good group of people, and I played all the way up until I was in Bantams, playing a year up, and then when kids started showing up with beards, you know, and I looked like I'm still 8 years old,
right.
Kind of when I got phased back into my own age group. But one of my old coaches reached out after it's been so long, but I think that we're going to have a reunion here in September, just have a little barbecue and get together. But I think one of those teams, we had four guys who at least played, you know, a season or a few in the NHL. One of my former goaltenders when I was a kid, Ryan Miller, he was kind of the last of our 1981 birth date. So he's actually an 80 to retire. So he just retired from the Ducks a couple months ago. So yeah, man, we had a good run, a lot of good people. Hockey's an insane sport, and a lot of great times, great memories. And obviously you take sports and the things you learn and whatnot and move them right into, you know, building a business or building a team. And you know, I wouldn't have it any other way. I had a pretty good childhood growing up doing that.
Yeah, that's something we missed out on the South was hockey.
Right.
Yeah, I had two roommates that were big Rangers fans. They were from Jersey, so I'd always have to watch the games by default because I was in the room and I could never follow the freaking puck. And then one year they put like a tracer behind it so you could actually see it. And I loved it. Then I started catching on and they absolutely hated it. But then I could learn the rules. I could see the damn puck for one thing, but yeah.
No, there's nothing like going, you know, hockey's cool to watch on TV, but, you know, going to a game with a full stadium, you know, growing up in Detroit, spent a lot of time at Joe Louis. When I was a kid, we'd go out to Chicago for hockey and we'd go to old Chicago Stadium that no longer exists, but just a different fan and a different experience that you don't have with any other sports.
Yeah.
Cool.
I keep thinking of that movie Clerks and those guys playing on the roof.
No doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt.
So you guide this morning? You fishing today or are you in the shop?
No, man. I pumped the brakes this time of year. Really, I pumped the brakes starting at the beginning of August. I'll still do some select clients, guys that I really enjoyed being with, and guys that have been loyal for a long time, and in August and whatnot, and do some cool stuff. We have like our summer program. It's busy enough to keep 3 or 4 guides rolling. Gotta find time to be with kids, as you know. Usually try to soak up that last month of summer, get out as much as I can, obviously, but the other boys, we got 3 guys out today.
Nice.
But I'm itching, man. I got this, whenever I get these like 10-day grinder runs, it's just like, I hadn't fished and I need to, my wife can tell. You're like, what's wrong? He's like, are you mad at me? It's like, no, I don't know what it is, but I know what it is. And she knows what it is.
We all know what it is.
No doubt, man. But yeah, fishing's good right now. We had a really dry spring, and it was pretty scary. I got rid of my raft and set it up to Willen, and I was starting to kick myself in the butt for doing that. It was starting to get bony, man, and then we just got smashed, and it just kept coming at the right times. So I don't think we've had this much water this time of year in 10 years since the shop opened, really. So
is it harder to fish that high water?
Well, I wouldn't say it's high. It's just, it's just favorable. Like the worst thing that can happen is you just get bone dry conditions. You get weeds everywhere on some rivers. I mean, some rivers have a little more gradient. But, people probably heard me say this before, on different podcasts and whatnot. Like our rivers aren't really set up as like a fly fishing friendly, right? They're not like set up like to guide, I should say, or put boats down. They're small. The volume of water is fairly small. I would say, on average, this time of year, some of our rivers can be running as low as like 150, but those same rivers right now are like at 400. Where in the spring they could be 1,500 or 1,000. So they don't have good boat ramps, don't have good stuff like that. But then the distance between the access points are so long that it's like, dude, it's at 150, and I got to try to get down this river, in 9 hours, 10 hours of clients, whatever. And it's like, you just beat the crap out of your gear. So it's nice to have water, and then it's nice to have options. So we got, some lake boats now, or if guys want to go out and fish the lake, inland lakes, and obviously Lake St. Clair and the other lakes around here. When you're inland, you don't need a captain's license. When you're out there on the big water, you got to have the full endorsement and whatnot. So out of our crew, the only one that has that is Colton.
Is it because of the size of the water?
Yeah, it's just U.S. Coast Guard just kind of mandates that you got to have it for, those Great Lakes waters. I mean, they're pretty wicked, man. You got to know what you're doing. And even though they're, they don't look that big, it can get pretty sketchy real quick.
Yeah. The first time I saw Lake Michigan, I was like, there's no way that's a lake. I mean, it was waves like the Atlantic coast. It was crazy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then you go out there one day and it's flat.
Yeah.
You never know what you're going to get. And it can kick up like that. I think it was Matt who works for us. He's got like maybe an 18 or 19 foot skater. And they were out on Saginaw Bay a couple weeks ago. And they're like, man, we are lucky. Like
I lost a feeling.
2-footers to 8-footers in no time. And they just sat there and just rode it out. Him and Jessica worked for me. So
it's kind of like those Lund boats. You kind of see why they're designed like that, that big water. Yeah,
no doubt. Yeah, I mean, if you're seriously going out there and you're buying a boat for just fishing the Great Lakes and you want to do, walleye fishing and bass fishing, you're going to buy something that's, a deeper V. But these kids run around in those little small bass boats and it's sketchy real quick.
Yeah, man, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I think one of the keys to a successful fly shop is obviously starting the community, which you've done. Y'all still do lots of like classes and things like that, right?
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I mean that's it's obviously what makes everything go, right? So you know, I worked for some good shops over the years. All of them had their positives and negatives, but you know, this is kind of the vision of what I always thought it should be, and what, you know, and like this doesn't happen overnight, obviously. So, you know, here we are, year 10, still plugging along. But yeah, just you know, the added value. You know, what value are you? Just the, you know, the shop that's just slinging product, or do you actually use it? Do you you know how to use it, know how to talk about it, you know what works for your fishery, know what works for other fisheries where people are traveling. You know, don't get me wrong, there's plenty of good fly shops out there, but you know, I mean, I put my crew up against anybody, you know.
Yeah, I would too.
Of everything, you know, I mean, it's just amazing. Like some of the, like even the kids that run the gear side, it's like, see them tying knots and stuff. I'm like, what is that? You know, well, it's this new one that does this. I'm like, dude, you got to teach me that, you know? So it's pretty cool, man. It's you know, obviously the team is all in. The team, you know, but kind of, it's a team, you know. And like, again, coming from that sports background and the things that I saw growing up and the things that I learned from coaches and peers and whatnot, you know, that's what we got here, which is really cool. Yeah, we're blessed, man. It's pretty
Awesome.
pretty cool scene.
Yeah, I remember calling one time and you were somebody was threw some deer on the Traeger for all the customers. I was like, man, that's legit beer and deer meat.
No doubt. Yeah, we'll be cooking Saturday and Sunday. So I'm sure this will come out after you know, fall kickoff and whatnot. But you know, like our events that we've now stretched out into a week, you know, that brings in people from all over the place. I mean, you're going to see people here on Saturday and Sunday from Indiana, from Ohio, guys come up from Kentucky, Pennsylvania. Not some, like, it used to have a bunch of guys coming from Canada, but obviously that's slowed down. But yeah, so if you ever come here for one of our events, whether it be demo days or fall kickoff, if you're from out of town, let us know you're coming, because Saturday night we go back to my house and have a big party and fire the Traegers up, and the Yetis are full, and we're having a hell of a time, and then sit around the bonfire till 2 a.m. and you never know who's going to be there. I mean,
Right.
I've had memories in that backyard with obviously Blaine and, you know, Larry Dahlberg and Bob Clauser and Hillary and Oliver and the whole crew. You know, they've all been to the backyard bonfire, and some of them go till 2-3 in the morning. You're just dragging ass on Sunday, but you can't get those memories, man.
I wish I lived closer. I love dragging ass on Sundays.
You're always welcome to come up for any of those. They're always
Yeah.
the first weekend in June and the second week of September.
Nice. And you said that one of them was this Saturday?
Yeah, so this today was the first day, so we go Tuesday through Sunday with them now. This one's fall kickoff.
Cool.
So it originally started, it was called Castapalooza for the first 3 years, and then we kind of rebranded it to fall kickoff. And now we've got the fly side obviously involved with it, and then we've got the conventional tackle side of the shop, which is called the G side, involved as well. So I think there's 9 different or 7 unique classes. A couple of them which will be run twice, but we'll have classes going on Saturday and Sunday. We'll have a big tent sale out back. We'll have the Traegers fired up, you know, free food, free beer. Kind of drug my feet on it, but the last few we've been able to get a beer sponsor, which has been
nice.
So,
I was always good about getting that for parties.
Right?
Always,
No
yeah. They're very willing. They were like, yeah, we'll send a rep over. How much do you need? And I'm like, well, I don't know. How much can I have? They're like, we'll take care of it, you know. And then all of a sudden, all this beer, you know, half of it goes in my trunk. I'm like, I'm not giving this to all these people.
Pretty good.
Yeah, damn right.
But yeah, man, it's fun. You build that type of environment. You get, you know, it's just, you know how it is, man. I mean, I don't spend any money on marketing. So my marketing is word of mouth, and then the hustle on the social.
Right.
But you spend $500 on a dinner and some beer for your crew, or $1,000, whatever it costs, and you bring some clients in, you know, that word of mouth, man, you know.
Yeah, they're going to remember it too. So
exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome. When does your deer season start?
So bow season starts October 1st, and with the way the weather's been the last, you know, years, it's like, dude, it's not even worth going out until the end of October, if not the beginning of November. So usually I got lucky. I've kind of slipped into a crew of baseball parents that grew up where I live, which is in Dexter. And they all have, they all know the farmer down the road and stuff. So they do a little bow camp. So usually I sit up in a tree and pass on a bunch of small bucks because we're in a really good spot for trophy deer. And I haven't shot anything out there, but I got a deer camp up in the UP that I'm 1/6 owner of, that my great uncle started. So nice. I go up with my dad and chill from usually November 15th until 18th, 19th. Sit in a box. It's Michigan, thick wood hunting. It's up there. It's a lot different game than where I live down here. I mean, down here is cornfields and giants, and up there is just, it's just a different animal up there. They got cougars chasing them and wolves and everything else. So
that's crazy.
Different world, man.
Yeah. Ours open August 15th and doesn't close till January 1st.
Dang.
So we have the longest one in the country, and there's no bow or muzzle loader. It's just open season, 2 a day.
Really?
2 a day.
Yeah, that's wild. Your population must be insane.
Yeah, it's considered a problem herd. I believe they've called it that. But if you can imagine sitting in a tree stand in 90-degree humidity and 90-degree heat, it's not good. Not good. Horrible.
We've got heaters in our blind up north. You got the full propane tank and everything. Do you have like air conditioning?
Most of them have, like, my cousin has one with windows that open. He's got rain gutters, all kind of shit. I wouldn't be surprised if he had air conditioning. Run it year round, get them used to it.
Modern hunter.
Yes, sir. Y'all have a big hex hatch up there too?
Yeah, so we have obviously, most people around here associate the hex hatch with trout. So up north, I usually they start showing up around the middle of June. And the Hexagenia limbata is the first bug to hatch, the big yellow ones. There was another one that they were calling a hex that used to hatch. Now they call it a green drake, but I don't think it's the same as the eastern green drake. This thing actually looks like a hex. Most people would think that it's a hex, but you have that first. It's definitely not as widespread as the limbatas, but then you'll get the limbatas, and depending on what watershed you're on, they could last, a couple weeks. But I've got spots where they last up like 6 weeks. And then usually towards the tail end of them, you're going to get another hex that goes off, which is the red hex or the purple hex, which is called a recurvata. And then that bug will go, I've seen them as late as 3rd week of September. So it just depends on where you're at. If it's just a river environment, it's going to be a little different than if you're in like a river going into a pond. Where you have like there's a lot of dams, like I was saying. So you get these backwater, ponds that are fairly shallow. They warm up, they're mucky, a lot of silt and whatnot in them. And then you have these expansive, like almost mini delta marsh type scenarios. And then when you get to the top of that, if you were to go, going up from the dam up, eventually you're going to come to where it turns back into a river. And like kind of those little bottleneck areas tend to produce a longer hatch. So you can ride it out. It's pretty fun.
Nice. You said it was predominantly looked at as like a trout hatch. You the smallmouth key in on those too?
So we don't target trout at all. They're for guiding. Those are all smallmouth that nice. Hatch. They'll eat them the whole time. And it depends on what type of river you're on. If it's like super low and clear and they've eaten all the other food sources, they can get rowdy. And then other nights you go out there and you're not really fishing for rising fish as much as you're prospecting and just floating down and keeping the fly within eyesight. Or I go as far as using, like a glow in the dark line. I did that for a number of years. I've kind of got a little bit away from that now, and I went to like glow in the dark tape on the bugs and just rely on that instead. It's like, you hit that with a 500 lumen Surefire on yourself, and you fish it for 10-15 minutes before it peters out. But that's a $6 investment on Amazon, and it's a lifetime investment. So I think it's like 30 foot of tape, and you cut it out, put it down there, and you're good to go. But
that's a great idea.
Yeah, it produces some really big fish. In conditions that if you're fishing in the daytime, you'd have to be a lot more precise and accurate and thoughtful in your approach, where when the lights are out, they get pretty dumb.
Yeah. Me too.
Right.
I remember there was a company that made, like, I think it was called Aqua Glow. It was like a little chapstick tube.
Yep.
We used to use that. And then we made, this was dating myself, this back when we had flash cameras too. We would put the aluminum foil and drop the fly in there, hit it with the camera flash, and it was psychedelically bright.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, we used to sell that. Yeah, it was like chapstick.
Yeah.
Yeah, back like the first fly shop I worked at, that was kind of hot. It was always an ad in Fly Fish America. That
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I remember those little free magazines in every store. They still do those?
I haven't seen one in
Yeah, I hadn't either.
Yeah,
that's what when I think of Michigan, that's generally what comes to mind, is either smallmouth or that Hex Hatch. It's just two things that we don't have here, smallmouth or Hex. So kind of interested in that.
No doubt. Yeah, no, it's a lot of fun, man. Like, the invitation's always here, man. So if you want to come up and fish for a couple of days, holler. I'll take you out and show you what's up.
Man, I'd love to. Y'all do a lot of hosted trips there through the shop too, right?
We do. Our international travel has definitely slowed down with everything going on. But yeah, I mean, we do multiple smallmouth trips up north. We do a muskie trip with Willen. Senyo takes a couple groups out to Wyoming every year. Love going down to Louisiana,
Where do you fish down there?
So I fish down at Journey South, which is in Venice.
Mm-hmm.
So Eric and Mo usually do a trip early, and then a trip like a pre-spawn trip sometime in August, and then a post-spawn trip in either October or November. This year we're supposed to go the last week of October, but I don't know if anyone follows them on Instagram that's listening to this, but if you look at their stories, I'm sure they're going to save some of them because it's pretty amazing. They had 2 foot of water in their place. Luckily, structurally, it's besides ripping all the drywall and stuff, the actual structure of the house didn't get damaged.
That's good.
But who knows how long they're going to be. I know, Eric's been on there preaching that, don't worry about us, we'll be fine. But our friends to the west and some of those fishing towns, west of New Orleans got absolutely smoked.
Grand Isle, man, that's sad. People were stuck,
Yeah, absolutely. So
y'all took some groups to Alaska too, right?
Yeah, we used to do Alaska trips every year. Kind of slowed down on that the last few years. I've taken a group to Kamchatka, which is really cool. Been down to Chile. So yeah, we get around, man. And then you get a couple kids, and it's like, do I really want to fly in a tiny little plane over the jungle with some guy I don't know? And I don't know, man. Life insurance, I got it, but man, I'd rather see these kids that I grow up.
Yeah, that's true. When did you go to Kamchatka?
I think it was 18.
Yeah. Is that as good as I think it is?
It was pretty damn good, man. Yeah, I mean, it was they everyone's got their own programs, but I really enjoy going to like a new place and like kind of take the things that I learned on my waters and the way that I like to fish and apply them to said river or said region. And man, the smallmouth game over there just absolutely destroyed everything. So, I was catching rainbows and grayling and on boogle bugs. I was stripping swinging D's, catching 2 footers, like just stupid. Like you're not even like, oh, there's another 2 footer. Just ate a 7-inch swinging D. And intermediate lines. That's the like little tip for people that are traveling. No matter where you go, saltwater, Kamchatka, Russia, whatever. One of the lines that I take no matter where I go is an intermediate, and we rely on them a lot in Michigan. And you'd be a fool not to bring one. Just have that in your arsenal. Just pay attention to if it's a warm water coating or composition or a cold water. So the 2 lines that I use all the time are the Scientific Anglers Sonar Titan Full Intermediate, and that's going to be your like cold weather line. And then the Sonar Titan Tropical Clear Tip, which it says tropical on it, but we start fishing even up here in Michigan end of May, middle of May, and we'll run that line all the way into October. But those 2 lines, man, pack them. You will thank them.
Yeah, I got big into the intermediate lines when I started striper fishing. It's night and day difference. Even if you're fishing just under the surface, you're so much more connected to it. And our beach here, our coast just goes real gradual, 100 yards out, you're only knee deep. So,
Okay.
but with all those waves, and we catch reds this time of year, right in the beach, right in your feet. You get the bait guys casting 80 feet and you're kind of chuckling because all the fish are right at your feet. But even with that floating line, there's so many micro currents in the surf that when you go to set a hook, all you're doing is straightening that line, but you're so connected with that intermediate. And poppers, you can fish poppers on those things too if you're
no doubt. Yeah, I mean,
draw.
my little ninja moves when it gets like, we'll get on these rivers where you're in the middle of a great day and we get just smoked in the summertime, and you might just be on the wrong stretch for that type of scenario and you go to straight mud, right? You just bust out a blockhead or a double barrel, put a little weight on the bend of the hook, put that intermediate on and start chugging away. And you're gonna get fish, and I always, with my program, when we're doing that, it's like you get it to the structure, you get it to the bank, you give it 1, 2, maybe 3 up, 5 more feet down the bank and just chop it up, versus fishing that fly all the way back to the boat. And that's where those shorter head lines, like I'm talking about, those 2 that I mentioned, they have a 33-foot head. So you're a couple, 3 strips into it, you can pick that thing up and put it right back down. So it's
especially with that sink tip, I guess, would help a lot in that situation.
Yeah, just breaking the surface. And then obviously, like, well, not obviously, but if you ever stripped a double barrel on a floater versus double barrel on the intermediate, it's a different sound. It's a lot more rowdy with that intermediate. So shorten your leader way up and start chugging away, and you'll get some fish.
Do you ever have to use real heavy lines where you are?
Heavy meaning the pound test?
No, like 300 grain or 250 grain.
No. We don't. I mean, I would say I hadn't really touched a sink tip line for smallmouth bass fishing probably in about 6 or 7 years, outside of some bigger rivers that we fish where we're casting for distance and then under the arm burn. So just to keep it down, like I'll take advantage of the sinking properties for that, but I'll go with like a super light one, like a Hover 2.3 or an I-2.4. It's like a triple density line that SA makes. But if I'm fishing my rivers around here, they're small. So I'm not tracking the fly at great distance as much as I'm fishing it thoroughly through a zone. And that's where the boat comes in and the way that you angle. So outside of having the no lead, no weight on the hook, I really had no need for it. And then this spring, it's like no lead on the hook. All right, it's March 15th, it's 40-degree water temps, 38-degree water temps. How am I going to put this fly in this fish's face? Then you reach for a short sink tip, and SA makes a series of like I think they call it the Titan mini tip or something like that, and it's just a really short, like anywhere between 8 to 15 foot tip, and I think you can cut it and whatever you want, but you could run that with like an unweighted fly. And that time of year we're going to fish changers, like a finesse. Like a finesse is a killer early season clear water fly, like your tan and your white. Little tips I could give guys out there: if it's really, really clear, I cut the eyes off or rip them off, just kind of tone it down a little bit. Because if you get a sunny day and it's crystal clear, those eyes are just giving it off. And it's not all the rivers we fish, but a few of the rivers that are not so much angling pressure. They don't see angling pressure. They just see human pressure of like lures and kayakers and stuff. Those little details of like removing the eyes and whatnot, that's huge. But
that's crazy. I've never thought about that.
Yeah, that fly comes to mind, man. Like that fly, I remember Blaine giving me that, and actually it was Corey, his buddy Corey. Corey?
Yeah.
Corey. He gave me a bunch that he tied, and this is a funny Blaine story. If you want me to give you a quick one. Blaine,
yeah, for sure.
The Blaine comes in. I think it's the first time he ever came out here to like work, where he's actually coming to an event, and they come in a couple of days early, and he's got big Corey with him. And we go out and we fish locally. We had something going on in the evening, so we went and fished a beat close to the shop, close to my house. And it's really tough fishing. Like it's really technical. The water gets super low and clear, and the fish just give you the fin more times than not. Since that time, this is probably 8-9 years ago, I've gotten a lot better at fishing it, and I'm a lot more confident. But on that water. But anyways, take them out, and it's pretty much all sight fishing. For the most part, if you want to catch them, if you go out there and just start hacking away and carving it up, you're going to put down more fish than you catch. So we're just taking our time. Corey's on the front of the boat, and I had fished the river, the section a bunch of times, so I have an idea where the fish have been hanging out. So we're kind of coming up to the spot, and I'm like, all right, Blaine, on this right hand side, on one of the next couple jams, there's going to be a really big one. Should be right off the tip of the wood, and we moved down there, and there's the fish just laid up right on the tip of the wood, and I kind of stall the boat out a little bit, and Corey sees the fish, and he makes a good cast on his backhand on the right side of the river, lays it in there, brings the fly right across the fish comes up, mouths it, and I can't remember exactly what happened. I'm staring at the fish, but he just straight missed it, like one of those times where the fish engulfs it, and just the way the hook turns or whatever, it just came right out its mouth, and the fish just didn't even move. It just sat there. And he goes to pick up and cast again. I'm like, Corey, no cast, don't cast. It's like, what? Like, just chill. So we float past, we go to the other side of the river, we row back up. And the whole time we're rowing up, Blaine's going, hey man, you really missed that fish. Yeah, man, you need to come in the back, man. Corey's like, no way, man. He's like, no, man. He's like, you definitely need to come in the back. It's my turn. And Corey's like, no, Blaine, I'm not coming in the back. He kind of tries to change the subject. We're talking about something else, and row back up about another 30 feet. He's like, man, yeah, I'm 100% sure that where I come from, if you blow a shot like that, the guy in the back gets the second shot. Yeah, that's how it is. That's definitely how it is. And Corey's just whatever. He keeps telling his story, and we get up, we anchor, we sit for like 5 minutes, just letting the fish rest and chilling. And same thing's going on. Blaine's just chirping him from the back. It's like, man, yeah, you should come back here, Corey. Come on, get back here, man. Get back here. Finally, Corey, he could take Blaine and just crush him with one hand. Big boy. He's like, screw it, Blaine. Come on up here. So he puts the rod in the tube and climbs over my seat, gets in the back. Blaine comes up. He's just got his big old grin going. He gets out there, and he's sitting there. I'm cracking other beers, chilling. Blaine's like, all right, I'm ready. I'm like, all right. So pull anchor, slide them down there. Fish move maybe 5-6 feet from where it was at. Blaine puts a 6 shot on this fish, walks it right in front of it, eats it, he gets it, he lands it. It's a 20 and 3/4 inch fish, just tiger striped out, so badass. It's actually in the book, in his Game Changer book.
Nice.
One of the fish that's laying down, that kind of profile shot of the fish. But yeah, it was a pretty epic story between Blaine and Blaine. We call it Blaining. He blained him out of the front seat. He's blained me out of shorts before. I had to give him
It's remarkable how well you can pull off that Virginia accent.
Right. I spent enough time around the guy.
I know. Like I'm sitting here talking to him.
Right. No doubt. Awesome dude, man. Awesome dude. I'm glad you guys got that rolling. It was I know that took a while to pull that all together, but
yeah.
I think all fly shop owners across the country, we thank you guys for making that happen.
Yeah, there's not many people in a room nicer than that guy. So we're very blessed to have him with us.
Heck yeah, man.
Well, sweet, man. Well, I'll let you get back to it. I know you're busy as shit. But thanks for talking to me, and enjoy the T-ball.
Hell yeah, man. That's over. We're in the rink now, baby.
Oh, yeah. Hockey. Wintertime. Yeah, if you get a wild here and come south, I'd love to take you red fishing. So.
Hell yeah, brother. I appreciate it.
Yes,
you guys
sir.
plan to put your ass up here at some point.
I'm planning on it.
All right, brother.
All right, Schultzy. Thanks, man.
Anytime.
See you, bud.